We have more details about the first AEW video game. Evil Uno was hosting a Twitch stream on Wednesday. He confirmed the game will be called AEW Fight Forever, as Tony Khan said last month, and that the game will be available on PC, in addition to all the major consoles. They showed in-game footage, very brief, but in-game gameplay footage of Chris Statlander wrestling Nyla Rose. What I saw was okay. It looks unfinished. Again, the game is not completely finished yet. So it doesn't look necessarily as polished as what you would see on 2K22, not even close. But what little I saw, I thought looked fine. I need to see more. How much are you going to get at it? Literally, it was 15 seconds, 20 seconds at the most. But per Fightful Select, roster size is going to be right around 50. And there will be some notable omissions in this first release. AEW's roster right now has a hell of a lot more than 50. They've got more than double that. I wouldn't be surprised if they had triple that under contract. DLC has been discussed. That's downloadable content. WWE has the same thing, so they could add characters over time, but nothing is confirmed. Names expected for the game include Owen Hart, Sting, CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole, and Ruby Soho. So it sounds like for sure those will be some of the names in the game. The Owen Hart thing I thought was pretty much well known. I mean, it was mentioned at the time that the agreement was reached with, Owen's widow and the foundation, that he would have some kind of involvement in the game. I mean, if not as a character, then what the hell else would Owen Hart have to do with an AEW video game? And they also report there's still lots of polishing that is needed, especially when it comes to character models and online play. And that's kind of the point. I know there's been a discussion that the game could be out as early as September. I would be surprised, frankly, if this game came out in September, but even September, the game is still not done yet. We still haven't seen a finished product. So you can only judge so much without seeing a full match or going hands-on with it yourself. Now, the website Sports Gamers Online, which broke a story last August about the relationship between WWE and 2K being seriously strained, posted a report on the same day that the new gameplay footage dropped of the AEW game, claiming that AEW and Yuke, who is developing the game, have been butting heads over it. More specifically, there had been issues between Yuke and Kenny Omega, with Omega finding himself frustrated and hating working with Yuke. And the report goes on to say there have been multiple instances of arguments over the game's direction as well as constraints on development. The game is way over budget and has even required extra investment, but the specific amount was not mentioned. These budget issues have led to a number of features of the game either being less than originally planned or cut altogether. One of the larger impacts of the budget is the roster size, and they said that they were able to confirm the 50 figure at launch that Fightful had mentioned. AEW does want to increase the roster size via DLC post-launch, however, before committing to a fully fledged DLC plan, Yuke is pushing for a long-term agreement for future game development, which is something AEW is not ready to commit to. Because of how things have gone during development, there are some on both sides of the fence believing this may be a one-and-done arrangement between AEW and Yuke. Fightful said that with all the time off that Omega has had, he's had time to help out with the game, but he's never done game development before. I know he's a gamer, but he's not, it's one thing to be a gamer and play games. It's another thing to be a game developer and all that I'm sure goes into that. So beyond some consulting, I'm not sure exactly what he's been contributing outside of ideas that he might have and giving feedback on things that they're doing. I don't know beyond that what involvement Omega would have in any of this. Now, Kenny has not commented on any of this to confirm or deny it. This is the sort of thing I would think if it wasn't true, he would squash it right away. And the fact that he hasn't, I think, says something. But, Tony Khan has millions of dollars of his own money invested in this game. In the past, he's put in 8 figures worth of his own money when he has been asked about this in the past. He needs this game to be a success so they can make that money back. They cannot half-ass this. I don't know what features may have been cut if this report is accurate, but some form of create a wrestler mode I think is a must in a game like this. I do think people need to temper their expectations, though. If they're comparing this to 2K22 or any of the WWE games, those games are way more detailed than I expect the AEW game to be. This is only their first. I'm already playing as downloadable AEW characters on 2K22. I've downloaded the AEW Dynamite Arena that somebody made. Some of these community creations are amazing, the work that people put into this stuff. The problem I've had is I downloaded the AEW Dynamite Arena and I haven't been able to select it. It won't let me select the arena when I do basic play mode. So I think that may be only usable in like my GM mode or something. I don't know. But hopefully it doesn't turn out to be more fun playing as Sting and Darby Allin in 2K22 than it is in the actual AEW game. You know, visuals are important, graphics are important, but a lot of it I think comes down to, and this is me talking personally, I think a lot of it comes down to gameplay and the controls. If it's easy for people to play and the game is fun, that is the most important thing. If you have a game that just isn't fun, these controls suck, it's frustrating and it's not fun to play the game, people aren't going to want to play the game. I think that's more important than anything else. And this was too good not to mention. While we're on the subject of AEW, I got to bring this up. Eric Bischoff. Eric Bischoff has been very hard on Tony Khan in recent weeks and in recent months about AEW and his view not growing its audience. And he even flat out said on his podcast that Tony probably thinks he's a pain in the ass and he's not going to invite him back on Dynamite and that makes him sad. He makes it sound like he's been unofficially banned. Bischoff made a few appearances on AEW television. He has not been used in a while, and I think what happened, and this is just my view on things, I think Bischoff started to get really testy about people making comparisons between WCW and AEW. And Tony Khan may have even in the past made certain comparisons between the two products. And there were things said, like on social media by people comparing the two. Oh, it's just like when Nitro and there were some ridiculous comments that were made, I will say. And if I were Bischoff, I can understand if he was frustrated or if he thought some of the comments were just completely ridiculous that people were making. I think what happened is he heard these comments and he took it personally and he thought it was laughable. And it's very possible Tony Khan wasn't happy with some of the comments that he made, and he chose not to invite him back. You know, as we've seen before, some of these people, they don't have very thick skin. But ever since then, I mean, you would think that Tony Khan slayed the man's firstborn the way that Bischoff has been mouthing off and going after AEW. But he won't let go of this idea that their television audience hasn't grown at all. Last month, he started a second podcast called Strictly Business, where he looks at wrestling from a business perspective. On his most recent episode, or the one from last week, he brought on a man, I believe it's either Mick or Mike Pandit, who works as a business affairs manager for NBC Universal, which has a relationship with WWE. And he's also an attorney, he's a former independent wrestler himself, so this guy's done it all. As I said, Bischoff has been talking nonstop about how AEW's audience has flatlined at around 1 million viewers a week, and it's been even less than that the last couple of weeks. But it's flatlined at about 1 million viewers a week, and they're not growing, and how bad this is. So he brings this guy on. Not a doubt in my mind, he expected him to echo the same point that he's been making, and back him up on what he's been saying. But in fact, he did the opposite. And Pandit talked about how AEW actually benefits from having the viewership, the consistent viewership that it has every week, and how it's a positive for them for a potential future streaming deal. And I'll give credit to Wrestling Inc. here for the transcription here for this part. He said, I think that is a huge advantage for them. This is not revealing anything internal, but NBC Universal executives have been very clear with how pleased they are with the WWE's drive of subscribers to the Peacock platform. Part of the advantage for WWE is that there are new events every month, yes, But then, 2, arguably 3 or 4 times a year, they have these big events. Your WrestleManias, the upcoming Super Show in UK, Saudi events, that drive consumers who might not have been subscribed to say, hey, I have to watch this. They're loyal. They want to see new content. Is a baseline of 1 million viewers something Tony can sell as an advantage for him? Yes. The question is, what is the price that he's going to get for that? Does that mean AEW is going to get the kind of live rights media fees that they would have gotten a couple of years ago? I don't know the answer to that, but I think the advantage for them is that even at an increase to what they're currently getting paid, which is about 40 to 45 million a year, it's still probably cheaper than scripted programming. And then he went on to talk about how their best landing spot as far as streamers go is probably HBO Max. Bischoff got played on his own podcast. You hate to see it. You hate to see it. I don't think that was the answer that he was expecting. I saw that clip and I was just waiting for the Curb Your Enthusiasm music to start playing as they zoom in on Bischoff's face. Priceless.